So Polkadot, what does it do? People are like, what does Polkadot do? Well, it produces blocks, okay? And it hasn't stopped. And guess what? It's resilient and it's sustained by the community all over the world by these low-cost servers. So that makes it even not only even more resilient, but makes it decentralized, right? Decentralized and resilient, they kind of go hand in hand. So it's unstoppable. And guess what? 6 seconds from now, it'll produce another block. So right now, we have a super resilient platform to build Web3 applications and services on. So that's what Polkadot does at the bare minimum, right? So the other thing that Polkadot can do and has done many times is that it can upgrade itself. So Polkadot was built with a Substrate blockchain framework, a Rust-based blockchain framework. And Substrate was built from day zero with the idea that you can upgrade your blockchain, that you all you have to do to upgrade your blockchain is put in the new Rust code for your new blockchain's application logic and compile it down to WASM, and then throw that WASM on the blockchain storage in the cloud, right? And your blockchain gets updated. But that is kind of risky because, like, the question is who can do that? So that's where you need a governance system, and that's the topic today. You need a body that can make the decisions on behalf of the network, right? This body can be either one account, like a pseudo account, a root privileged account. Uh, Typically, that's frowned upon. Although, usually when you're building a blockchain, you do want to start with that just to make sure you get everything set up on your blockchain. But as soon as possible, you start creating your own governance system, your own DAO for the blockchain, uh, a body, a collective that can help do the decision making with the community. So the more the community is involved, the better it is. So OpenGov is a beautiful, super sophisticated on-chain governance system, and it's the decision-making body for Polkadot. There's this website called Polk Assembly, and I really recommend it. It's a UI that connects to the Polkadot RPC node. It's a really easy way to kind of look at the on-chain data. So, for example, we're looking at OpenGov right now. So, for example, you can see this is Polkadot's treasury. So, as of now, it's got roughly this amount in US dollars, uh, in the form of different tokens. So you can see about looks like 25 million dot. Like if I click on details on Polkadot's relay chain, there's about 14 million dot. On Asset Hub, a system parachain of Polkadot, there's a little bit more, and there's other tokens as well. You can see USDC there as well. So this is all has to do with Polkadot's treasury. 14 million dot, that's available. So if I show you a different view, if I go back here to the Polkadot UI, click on governance, I can also see that on-chain data here. And you can see that there's the 14 million. It's what's available. What's spendable is this amount here. So this is the amount that's spendable. And when the treasury spends that, that's according to the spend period. So the spend period for Polkadot is every 24 days. You can see we're nearing that. We're almost there. There's only 2 days and 17 hours until the next spend period kicks off. And this gets used to pay out whatever proposal got approved. The thing is that if all of this does not get spent, then there will be a next burn period and this amount will be burnt. If all of this gets spent, then this will not get burnt. Usually this gets burnt, that amount of dot. So let's go back here to Poke Assembly. So we have a treasury. That's pretty cool, right? It's an on-chain treasury, and it's got different tokens, which is really cool as well. It wasn't always the use case. It wasn't always the case that we had USDC asset available to us, but now we do. So that means when you go up here and you say, hey, I want to create a new treasury proposal, I have this great project idea that I believe it's going to grow the network, grow the Polkadot network. And here are the details. And this is the amount I'm requesting for. So you can actually choose and say, I want to request the amount in dot. Or now you can also say you want USDC. So you can choose which one you want. Let's look at an example here. So there's different tracks in OpenGov. Medium spender, for example, this is a good one. So there's some pretty large projects here for medium spender. So if we take a look at one of these, like for example, let's look at this one, 1383 Ideal Network, posted by Ideal Labs. That's their on-chain account. Most likely that's either a pure proxy or multi-sig representing a team. So let's go in there. And here's the proposal. So it's in the status of deciding. You can see it's really nice UI. And this is what their proposal is about. So it looks like they want to build this randomness layer on Polkadot. So Polkadot is infrastructure, right? It's like the Web3 platform, the Web3 infrastructure to build services and dApps, Web3 services and dApps. So they want to build a randomness layer. They want to build a Web3 protocol on top of Polkadot. Really, really cool. If you get a chance, read this, read the problem that they're solving and how they plan to tackle it. And you can vote. So this is OpenGov. You can click on cast your vote. It'll cast an on-chain vote. And you can see the community has already been voting. This project is the community is super in favor of this project because it's like a super cool technical project, right? So like this is a reminder for all those people that say like, oh, crypto is a scam. Like, no, it's not. I'm sorry. Like it's like, the internet can be used for good things or bad things. Same thing here, right? Here's an example of like crypto is not a scam. Crypto is freaking cool, right? So I think the community agrees here. You can see that those are in favor and the amount of dot that is not in favor. And then there's some details here for the voting threshold. So that's there as well. So this UI is really, really nice. So you can use this UI to vote if you want to participate. You can also use the Polkadot UI here. Like if I scroll down, I think actually I got to go to referenda. So if I click 1383 medium spender, let's see, 1383 right here. Yep, Ideal Labs, deciding, and I could vote on here as well. So just a different UI, whichever one you prefer. You select your account, A or nay, the amount of dot you want to vote with, and the conviction. So this is actually on-chain logic. So I could vote with like, let's say 10 dot with one conviction. That would lock my dot for 7 days. Or if I really like want to have like twice the voting strength, I could vote with twice the conviction. That would lock my dot for 14 days and so on, right? It's up to you which one you want. And when I click vote, it'll submit an on-chain transaction. So that's a bit about like high level about governance. I do want to show you some other things. So for example, uh, when these proposals get created, there are some off-chain components that happen as well. For example, there are discussions that happen out in the open. There's a famous um, YouTube channel here by the custodian down here where they hop on a call, I believe like every week. It's called a Tempset Governance. And they just like basically like anybody can join this call, right? It's so beautiful that anybody can join. And they just like they go through the proposals and they just like talk about them. And usually the people who the team who created the proposal, they also show up and they discuss like, oh, this is why we created it, this is why we think it's important. So really, really healthy discussion that informs the community and gets you more informed so that you can vote the way that you want to vote. So that exists. It's an off-chain component, but quite useful. The other thing that I want to highlight is that Polkadot's runtime. So up here, you can see this is like the runtime version. Uh, right here. So Polkadot's runtime, remember, it uses Substrate. So runtime is the blockchain's application logic, right? What the blockchain does. So the runtime gets compiled down to WebAssembly. That's what gets uploaded. That's what when you change the blockchain's code, the runtime code, and you want to upgrade the network, that's what you need. You need the WASM. And if we change the Polkadot's runtime and we want to do an upgrade to Polkadot, uh, we can do that. And that has been done many, many times. Polkadot has iterated, it has evolved. Even the governance system has evolved. But the runtime itself, Polkadot's runtime, it's not owned by parity. So like, for example, if I go to the Polkadot SDK, right, it's Polkadot repo, like this is Polkadot, right? Currently, it's owned by the Parity Tech organization. The Parity created Polkadot, right? However, the runtime, the actual blockchain runtime logic. That's, you can see it's here, runtimes. That's owned by the Polkadot Fellowship. Polkadot Fellowship, it's a technical fellowship that is on chain, and we can actually see it, I believe, here, somewhere here. Developers, is it developers governance? Oh, I believe they moved it to a different parachain, maybe the collectives parachain. We can check. We can check. Let's see. Collectives. So this is a systems parachain for collectives. Let's see if I'm wrong or right. Fellowship. There it is. So yeah, this is a parachain dedicated to on-chain collectives, which is really useful for governance. And you can see this is actually the fellowship. So these are mostly all core engineers. These are developers, software blockchain engineers. They're actually building the protocol, the Polkadot protocol, and you can apply to get into this fellowship. It's got some strong requirements, right? You got to show your contributions, and it's got different on-chain ranks. Like you can see, there's Gav, right? He's rank 7. That's the membership rank, and different ranks have different perks, you could say, and you can read up on that. Really, really interesting stuff. They don't have it's like I don't want to say like they don't have any power. Like they do have power. So the power that that this collective can have, this fellowship collective can have, is to give like these really, really strong indicators to the governance community, to say like to give it to the community and say, hey, we really, really believe that this technical upgrade is important. But at the end of the day, it's up to the community to vote and approve that upgrade. So they really just they can give you, they're like a voice, a technical voice that is there kind of like as the technical support to grow the network, to kind of say like, okay, hey, we really this we need this upgrade because it's got a bug fix, a hot fix, or it's going to improve the network in such a way, or this is some technical architectural advice, right? So they're there for a little bit of helping the governance community in that type of way. And they do have these open dev fellowship calls. So this is where you can see the fellowship, the members. They show up. There's Gav right there, and they discuss things out in the open, which is really, really beautiful to see. So these discussions are happening about how to move Polkadot forward, right? How to steward Polkadot forward, and the future of Polkadot. And a lot of it is like super connected with like the PRs that are happening here and Polkadot SDK. So that's there as well. It's an off-chain component, this, right? The video. You can tune in. It's really cool stuff. But at the end of the day, the collective is on chain, right? So that's part of OpenGov. So let's see here. What else? And the runtime itself, like the Polkadot runtime, it's owned by the fellowship. It's not owned by Parity. It's owned by this fellowship organization that we saw, the on-chain collective. And for example, if you click on Relay Chain, you can see it. There's the Polkadot runtime right there. So this is the Polkadot runtime. This is the code, the actual Rust code that at the end of the day, we got to compile it down to WASM, right? And upload it to the chain. And this is Polkadot's runtime logic. Pretty cool stuff, right? So that's there. It just shows like how beautiful all this open development is. And technically, like in terms of OpenGov, right? All the modules that um, exist to kind of make it happen, these are Rust modules. So if I go back here to the relay chain, Polkadot relay chain, and we look at the governance tab, right? These are just UIs for Rust modules. Like Treasury, that's actually a Treasury Rust module. It's a palette, what we call in Substrate a palette. Like I could show you, like if we go to open source repo, Substrate, so Polkadot SDK, Substrate, and we go to where all the Rust modules, the palettes live, frame. And if we scroll down to T for Treasury, where is the Treasury? There it is, Treasury. So Treasury palette. Okay, cool. And you can actually read up on this. It's really super well documented, and you can see things like you can see if I do a search for spend, right? Actually, there's probably let's see. Yeah, so like you could see there's like a pretty cool trait called spend funds where it actually does the spending of the funds, and super well documented. So that's all there. The code is all open source. really beautiful, right? And thanks to this UI and the other UI, we can see it in a more friendly kind of way. So the other thing that I want to show you technically is that there was, so there's this PR here, governance v2. So OpenGov is governance v2. And prior to OpenGov, there was governance v1, which was really, really good, actually. Governance v1 was really good. Governance v2 is super good. Like, I think it, and it's iterating, it's evolving. There's some, all the time, there's like some improvements, right? Like on chain, like PRs and stuff. Uh, it's super sophisticated. Governance is something that is really hard to ta like find an amazing solution because like there's really, really hard problems to solve. For example, like how do you get the community to vote, right? Like usually like a typical like problem for governance in general, whether it's like blockchain governance or any governance, is getting people to vote, right? It's usually a small audience, like even if you think of your own country's governance, right? So these are things that uh, can be improved on, though. Like there can be different ways to tackle that and different initiatives, and that's the beauty of Substrate. The beauty of Polkadot is that we can just perform a runtime upgrade and try something out. Like, okay, let's iterate on the governance system. Let's improve it. And right now, it's super sophisticated. Like I would even say, like I love. It's kind of far-fetched, but I think that the American government could use OpenGov. I really do think so. I think that it can be built in such a way that it's already more efficient than it's on chain. The decision making is on chain, right? And it can be improved, iterated. So uh, I haven't seen anything more advanced to tell you the truth. But anyways, governance v1 was just like more like simple democracy, and it works. It's really well. Some chains in production are using governance v1. And what we see here is the PR for governance v2, which is pretty cool because you can actually see the code, the work that was involved. Like if I click on files changed, we can actually see this was when they implemented it in Kusama. Kusama's the test network of Polkadot, but with real economic value, right? It's also called the Canary network for Polkadot. So let's see here. So you can see these are the different changes, the code changes. If I scroll down to, let's see, um, librs, so this is the actual Kusama runtime. And I want to actually see, for example, down here, to be able to see the palettes. Yeah, so these are the palettes for governance v2 that were added. Looks like there's a palette conviction voting, palette referenda, palette rank collective. That's where we saw the ranking, where we saw Gav had a 7. Palette referenda for fellowship referenda, and so on, right? Different palettes. So this is all there. It's really nice to read if you're like a developer to see how one would configure the governance v2. Um, because at the end of the day, this is open source. Polkadot is a multi-chain, right? Like world. Like you can build parachains, you can build these blockchains on top, connect them with the Polkadot relay chain, and you can also use these Rust modules in your own blockchain, in your own parachain. You can have governance v1 or governance v2, and these PRs are really nice from a technical perspective to see how one would go about configuring it. So this is governance v2. I'll show you, for example, there's a blockchain called Interlay. Interlay is doing some really novel stuff with Bitcoin, but on Polkadot, and it's producing blocks. And guess what? It has a governance system. It has governance v1, and it works. There it is, democracy, right? So it's pretty cool. It's very basic. You can see you can submit a proposal. If I click submit a proposal, I have to submit a pre-image, and then one can vote on it. The community can vote on it. Uh, and so like it's up to you how, from a substrate perspective, how you would want to configure governance for your chain, if you want a treasury in your in part of your governance and such, right? So here is, if we scroll up here, here is the PR, the commit, actually, this is actually the commit for adding governance to Interlay. And this is really cool from a technical perspective because you can go here and you can say, okay, let me look at how they did it. So you can see if I scroll down, let's see to the palettes, what does governance V1 consist of? And there it is. There's governance V1, right? It consists of palette democracy, palette. So it's got a lot of the voting mechanism, palette collective, right? We kind of saw a little bit of that where you can create an on-chain collective. And it's got two palette collectives. One is for a general council, so two instances, one general council and the other one for a technical committee. And then palette membership and palette treasury. So they have a treasury. Usually when you have governance, you want to have a treasury and some another palette here. So that's pretty cool. Like if you're, if you like technical stuff and you want to experiment, like building your own parachain, that's there as well for you. So that's governance in a nutshell. I hope that it's like that was super high level, right? I hope that that was enough to like kind of get you interested and kind of show you what Polkadot governance is about, and hopefully get you more involved, whether you want to be involved in like, creating a treasury proposal or voting or even like going into the code. That's up to you. And if you want to look more, there are some Polkadot wikis that described Polkadot governance in detail. Let me show you that really quick. So how the actual voting works, the mechanism and everything there is. So yeah, there's the there you go, introduction to Polkadot OpenGov, right? And it drills down into the different origins. It goes a lot deeper into how the actual origins tracks and voting works. So that's there if you want to check it out. It's a pretty good read. It's very detailed, right? So thank you all.